Why did the so-called Jews denigrate our character? Between the true house of Judah and their legacy by defining them as debased and hopeless. They even had the temerity to create those most enduring, negative, caricatured minstrel shows and derogatory images of the true house of Judah. This is claimed by a Jew named Lester B. Friedman in his book entitled Hollywood's Image of the Jews, and I quote, "Today, most people associate the blackface tradition with minstrel shows, and more particularly with Al Jolson. In actuality, many Jewish performers gained early and continued success using it. Sophie Tucker was billed as the world-renowned coon shouter, or more euphemistically as the manipulator of coon melodies. Eddie Cantor played Salome in drag and blackface, while George Burns often toured with an even more comically stylized blackface than Jolson's. Later, George Justin often joined Eddie Cantor on stage in various blackface routines. Indeed, it is too easy to ignore the derogatory aspects of such activities, the unconscious racism accepted and nourished by such cruel parodies by citing historical context. The undisguised elements of ridicule in such blackface portrayals by Jews mimicking the outlandish stereotypes of blacks often look suspiciously like one group's desperate need to assert its own superiority by mimicking another. Such a motivation, while perhaps unconscious, is nevertheless hard to ignore." Unquote. Now, what is it that motivates them to continuously denigrate us? They don't denigrate other people, so consequently I would assume it is not about superiority per se, but is seemingly derived from their motivation to usurp our rightful place with Yahweh. It makes their task easier, because they impress on the world's mind our degradation and not our heritage and glory. My brothers and sisters, these usurpers of the heritage of the true house of Judah have continued historically to low-rate, criticize, and caricature the original people of Yahweh since the time they returned to Jerusalem with their Babylonian Pharisaic religion until today. The primary function of the degradation of our persona is to serve as an influencing tool in discrediting the true descendants of Abraham through Jacob in the minds of the people, and consequently facilitate an easier task of publicly usurping their identity. The motivation behind the process originated within the context of Esau's hatred for Jacob, which has its roots in the conflict generated between them over the supposed birthright inheritance of the firstborn son. They were experiencing conflict with each other until their deaths, and now the children of Esau are functioning within that same paradigm formed by Esau in his continual attacks on Jacob. His short-term victory was actual confiscation of Jacob's identity, but thanks to Yahweh for the spirit of truth, which is in the process of pulling down his strongholds of illusions and falsehoods. If the original Hebrew-Israelites are black people, who then are the white-skinned people that constitute 80 to 85% of the current so-called Jews of the world? Let us allow the Jews themselves to tell us who they are. We find in the Universal Jewish Encyclopedia information on these people who falsely claim and have usurped the mantle of peculiar people, holy nation, and nation of priests from us. They tell us they are, and I quote, Khazars, a medieval people, probably related to the Bulgars, whose ruling class adopted Judaism during the 8th century. The Khazars seem to have emerged during the 6th century from a vast nomadic Han empire, which stretched from the steppes of Eastern Europe and the Volga basin to the Chinese frontier. Although it is often claimed that allusions to the Khazars are found as early as 200 CE, actually they are not mentioned until 627. Most Jewish historians date the conversion of the Khazar king to Judaism during the first half of this century, AD. Unquote. These new converts to Judaism evidently had minimal knowledge of the Torah, Over a period of time, these converts to Judaism came to a place in their lives where they began to believe they were the true Israelites, even though none of them except the Edomites had an ancestor who had ever lived in Jerusalem. The Edomites and Khazars are part and parcel of the Ashkenazim. Not one drop of legitimate DNA that would legitimize their belief and claim has been detected in them. The so-called Jews stole our identity and our heritage, and then they brought us into slavery by way of ships. The evidence appears to indicate the only involvement with ships and 400 years of oppression by the so-called white Jews was their economical and physical involvement in the enslavement of Yahweh's people in the European slave trade. One of their scholars, Seymour B. Liebman, in his book New World Jewry, subtitled Requiem for the Forgotten, states, "They came with ships carrying African blacks to be sold as slaves. The traffic in slaves was a royal monopoly, and the Jews were often appointed as agents for the crown in their sale. They were the largest ship handlers in the entire Caribbean region, where the shipping business was mainly a Jewish enterprise. The ships were not only owned by Jews, but they were manned by Jewish crews and sailed under the command of Jewish captains," unquote. These so-called Jews, proselytes, have been involved in destroying us since the birthright conflict between our ancient ancestor Jacob and their ancient ancestor Esau. The Anti-Defamation League has already shown its true colors. It has the unmitigated gall to defame us, the true Hebrew-Israelites, and at the same time complain about having the same thing done to them by others. Here's what they wrote about us in the B'nai B'rith magazine, May 1929, volume number 39. These hypocrites set up a hypothetical situation with two hypothetical blacks, one named Rastus and one named Cicero. And Rastus speaks to Cicero, and I quote, "What for you ejaculate yourself to me in that honorary manner?" Cicero replies, "What for? Nigga, who do you calculate you is?" Rastus replies, "Yo nigga, my family am quality folks and I'm a person of rank." Cicero replies, "Huh? I'll have your trifling Rastus to know that I'm ranker than you is," unquote. Jokes like this appeared regularly in B'nai B'rith magazine, even as the ADL fought this kind of defamation of Jews themselves. The ADL has the following in its charter, and I quote, "For a number of years, a tendency has manifested itself in American life toward caricaturing and defaming of Jews on the stage and in moving pictures. The effect of this on the unthinking public has been to create an untrue and injurious impression of an entire people and to expose the Jew to undeserved contempt and ridicule." Now, is that the height of hypocrisy or not? Yeshua, or Jesus Christ, says to them in a conversation with them, "I know that you are Abraham's seed, but you seek to kill me because my word hath no place in you. I speak that which I have seen with my father, and ye do that which you have seen with your father." They answered and said unto him, "Abram is our father." Jesus said unto them, "If ye were Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham. But now you seek to kill me, a man that had told you the truth, which I have heard of God. This did not Abraham. You do the deeds of your father." Then said they to him, "We be not born of fornication. We have one Father, even God." Jesus said unto them, "If God were your Father, you would love me, for I proceeded forth and came from God. Neither came I of myself, but he sent me. Why do you not understand my speech, even because you cannot hear my word? Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own. And the Spirit of truth has spoken, my brothers and sisters.